Hey guys, my name is Dice Roland. Today we're going to be taking a look at some facts you didn't know about the movie that brought one of Disney's most beloved attractions to the big screen. The Haunted Mansion was directed by Rob Minkoff and tells the story of a family who finds themselves trapped in a very haunted manor with a tragic history. This video was requested by Bronson Wright Wolf. So without further ado, these are some things you didn't know about the Haunted Mansion.
Dark spirits from the grave, come forth, lift us from the black, and show us the way back.
The voice stating the famous line, "Welcome, foolish mortal," during the opening belongs to Corey Burton, who is also responsible for the ghost host's voice during Disneyland's Haunted Mansion holiday attraction. The tarot cards we see in the opening tell us the story. They are the Lovers, Three of Swords, and Death. The Lovers and Death are self-explanatory in this case, but the Three of Swords represents betrayal. The paperboy we see in the beginning of the movie is actually Rob Minkoff's nephew. Deep Roy appears twice in this movie. The first time is in the Hawaiian bar, and the second is as one of the hitchhiking ghosts. When the couple sing Happy Anniversary to Jim, this is a reference to a radio ad by Disney for their anniversary. It was sung by a child and the tone was the same. Apparently, it wasn't appreciated by many listeners as it was pulled from the air. When the Evers arrive at the mansion and Jim comments on the giant door knockers, this could very well be a reference to Young Frankenstein 1974. The grand chairs that are part of the dining room were added to both the Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion in Disneyland. You can spot them in the scene where Jack Sparrow sits among the treasure, and as the chair that belongs to one of the murdered husbands of the bride. The red couch in the library was also featured in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, 1954. The bust that triggers the hidden passage in the library is that of poet Dante Alighieri. That was not a raven. California has strict laws involving birds of prey that are domesticated, so a different bird from Africa was used. The gentlemen portraying the singing busts in the cemetery are the Dapper Dans, who are an actual barbershop quartet who perform in Disneyland's Main Street, USA. Two of the singing busts are designed to look like Paul Frees and Thurl Ravenscroft. Often mistaken for Walt Disney himself, Ravenscroft was one of the original voices of the busts, and Frees narrated the Haunted Mansion ride. The scene where corpses rise from their resting places is a direct reference to the iconic coffin occupant from the ride. Prior to the Haunted Mansion, Eddie Murphy and Terrence Stamp had appeared in Bowfinger, 1999. In this movie, Murphy portrayed the character of Kit Ramsey, a very similar surname to Ransley. It's a well-known thing that Disney likes to hide Mickeys wherever they can. This film is no different. You can spot them as the lock of the gate, the windows in the doors of the hall as Jim is running from the instruments, the powdered poison Ramsley puts in Sarah's drink, and the axe of one of the nights Jim attempts to get past. The elements in the film that hold a direct tie to the attraction include the breathing door, the busts who watch Jim as he wanders the hall, the singing busts, Madame Leota and her ghostly instruments, the carriage, the groundskeeper and his dog, the hanging of Edward Gracie, the ballroom of dancing ghosts, the raven, the hitchhiking ghosts, the morphing portraits, the hangman and the eyes of portraits that follow you, the bride's dress in the attic, the skeletal hands that open the coffin, the knights guarding the hallway, the pipe organ, and the clock striking 13. Even some spoken lines are directly related. "Welcome, foolish mortals. Final arrangements have been made, and there's always my way." There is a record that was released to promote the Haunted Mansion ride in 1969. In the story that's told in it, it's rain that causes the characters to go inside. One of the early scripts had the Gracie Mansion in upstate New York. This was later changed to Louisiana. However, if it had been placed in New York, then its appearance would have been based on Disney World's Haunted Mansion. A majority of the inspiration for the plot came from another version of the Haunted Mansion, specifically the Phantom Manor in Disneyland Resort Paris. This attraction has a clearer story than most other iterations, which features a heartbroken bride who lost her lover as well as the haunted mansion she resides in. Christopher Chacon, a parapsychologist and anomalist, was asked to help make the film with his knowledge of hauntings from around the world as well as the history of the Haunted Mansion ride. The Gracie family name comes from Imagineer Yale Gracie. Madame Leota was also named after an Imagineer, Leota Toombs. The Haunted Mansion almost came out during the 80s. During the Ghostbusters' success, Disney only wanted Aykroyd, Ramis, Murray, and Moranis to star in the film. We almost had a few familiar faces appear in the film. The role of Ramsley was originally offered to Anthony Hopkins. The role of the groundskeeper almost went to Don Knotts. Unfortunately, the importance of the character was cut from the final script, and even though Knotts did not portray the character, you can still see him and his dog during the cemetery scene. There is a certain irony to Eddie Murphy's role in this movie. Many fans of his stand-up comedy will remember one of his routines, where he talks about how you would never see black people in a haunted house movie, because they would leave at the slightest hint of paranormal happenings. During shooting, Mark John Jeffries was actually a year older than Ari Davis, even though they portrayed a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old respectively, and Martha Thomason was 27 years old. The look of the Gracie Mansion is a combination of the actual Disney Haunted Mansion attractions, the exterior being that of the Disney World ride, and the interior being a mix of Disneyland and Disney World. Rick Baker specifically designed Ramsley's look to be similar to Boris Karloff. The Hitchhiking Ghost Trio were originally featured more prominently in early versions of the script, but it was decided that having 3 side characters speaking frequently would be too overwhelming. Up until the release of the 2018 film Zombies, and its subsequent sequels, this was the only time zombies were mentioned in a Disney movie. So those were some things about the Haunted Mansion you may not have known. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like. See you later.